The sound of the siren, the first bounce, the nervous excitement before the start of the game. Weekends that may or may not be filled with watching football. Yes, footy is nearly back and the AAMI Community Series was a taster. One of the highest intensity pre-seasons I've seen in a long time. Hey, I'm Jeremy, welcome to the channel or welcome back if you've subbed. Which teams impressed you last weekend? Leave them in the comments. If you're like me, you must be stoked that footy's back. So here's 5 things I learnt from watching the football last weekend. There's a new set of brothers in town. The De Koning brothers. One for Carlton and one for Geelong. If you didn't catch Carlton's game against Melbourne, don't look at Tom De Koning's stats. But if you watch the game, every time the ball came close to him, he looked like he was going to take mark of the year. He's going to be a solid option up forward for Carlton and damn exciting to watch. Think of Taylor Walker, but 10 centimeters taller, big blonde hair, and probably a higher vertical leap. He's going to be damn exciting in Carlton's lineup. Sam De Koning. I mentioned him in my other video, a player to watch from your club, but he looks solid for Geelong. He's a solid one-on-one mark and contest, and will only improve when his body gets a little bit bigger, as well as knowing when to play off his forward for help defence for Geelong. He's also pretty good in Geelong's defence for their counter-attack, and being an option to release them off the back half of the forward 50. He's a player to watch this year. The AFL will not tolerate time wasting. I know the AFL media covered this at the start of the year, but you just never know how it's going to be when the game actually starts. But the umpires were absolutely all over it, especially in the Carlton and Melbourne game. We're talking about when players mark the ball and the defensive player comes in to tackle afterwards when they weren't in the contest. Time wasting specifically focused on when the player has the ball, they've given away a free kick, and they ask the umpire which player when it is obvious. I like this personally because I know this is such an obvious time wasting tactic to allow the defensive team to get back. But they also crack down on defensive players pushing or tackling a player after they've marked the ball if the defensive player wasn't in the marking contest. And I particularly like this because too often you see the defensive player come in half a second later and either grab them or push them to the ground and nothing's done about it. With the focus on this rule and time wasting, I still don't understand why the AFL isn't enforcing the 6x6x6 rule. It seems that in most games there's at least 1 or 2 instances where teams haven't set up correctly and the umpire keeps issuing a warning. Surely this should come under the time wasting focus and the umpire should just give away a free kick. Despite the AFL being pretty good at adjudicating this time wasting on the weekend, there were some times where the umpire slipped back into 2021 mode. There was one example where Joe Danaher was sitting on a player for 5 or 10 seconds with the umpire there, with the umpire sitting next to him, talking to him, and the attacking player couldn't get up, and this wasn't given as a 50-metre penalty. I sat at home just being like, this is a bit inconsistent, but overall, I think the AFL did a good job for time wasting in the AAMI Community Series. I hope that leads into round 1. Gold Coast Premiership window might be a little bit open. Look, I'm not saying they're going to make finals this year, maybe next year, and maybe they don't win a premiership in the next 5 years. You look at the talent they've got on their list. They've got Touk Miller, who somehow looks like he's found another gear from his form last year. You've got Noah Anderson, who looks exceptional in the middle, and Matt Rowell, who looks like he's going to have a good season this year. Yes, I know they played Geelong, and Geelong had players out, but Gold Coast looked good the way they moved the ball. They were always looking centre, and they backed in their system and their players to be there to take the game on. When a team moves the ball directly like that with good skills and a fast pace, it's difficult to defend, and I can see Gold Coast causing problems if they keep that system. You've also got players like Lukosius and Ballard and Sexton up forward who can kick goals in the absence of Ben King. Yes, I know most of you are sitting there thinking, yeah, Gold Coast, after 6 rounds they always fall apart. Yes, that might happen, but I think their list and the system and their play style is one that can win games and take the game on. There are apparently now 4 constants in life: birth, death, taxes, and the AFL not knowing how to interpret holding the ball. Just so you fully understand the depth of my complaint, I'm not whinging at one umpire, I'm not even whinging at any of the umpires. The AFL has come out at the start of the year and said they have a new interpretation of holding the ball, and apparently they've had 600 meetings with the umpires in the off-season. I'm telling you now, the consistency of holding the ball in the AAMI Community Series was not good. We're talking it wasn't good umpire to umpire, game to game, and it wasn't even good contest to contest. But there's an upside to this. The AFL's holding the ball interpretation will hopefully get better as the year goes on. And the last one, Carlton. Carlton's midfield might just be fine without Sammy Walsh at the start of the year. Paddy Cripps was sensational and looked as good as ever with a lazy 9 clearances and 4 goals. Matthew Kennedy also had 9 clearances and he looks like he's going to hold his spot as the other inside mid for Carlton. Kennedy's been hit with injuries his whole career, but this year, and with Walsh out for the start of the season, is his opportunity to show himself as an inside mid and a ball-winning machine. He's also pretty handy going up forward. If you haven't seen my finals prediction video, I haven't got Carlton making the 8, but they might just prove me wrong. There was a lot to like about how Carlton played against Melbourne, and their midfield was a big part of it. So that's my 5 things we learnt. I'm keen for footy. We've got less than a week now. Leave a comment below with what you learnt from watching footy last weekend and tell me how keen you are for the start of the season. Peace out.